Hey, if you're new to iOS apps or just reskinning an app and you want to add Revmob, AppLovin, and Flurry to your app, check out this video. Thanks for watching. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I've done here is open Xcode 5. I'm going to go to a single view application. And we'll give our product a name. I'm just going to call this com.keoflex.adstest. You can name that anything you want. My organization is Keoflex. You can name that anything you want and put yourself a company identifier and a class prefix. All of these can be unique, so just go ahead and set those the way you want. Set your device the way you want to. I'm going to go ahead and just do this as an iPhone application just to make things easier at this time. And click Next. Okay, so I'm going to save these files in my ads demo folder on my computer. So as long as I know where this folder is, we're in good shape. So here's the basic layout. We'll be using the appdelegate.h, the appdelegate.m, the viewcontroller.h, and the viewcontroller.m. To get started, we're going to have to download our SDK files for the ads. To start off, we're going to have to download our SDK files. So first, we're going to download our Flurry SDK file. Okay, we'll want to go to our applications. And you'll notice I have no applications here, so I'm going to add a new application. You'll have to do this for every application you create. In this case, I'm creating an iPhone app. If I have an app that's doing dual iPhone and iPad, you'll want to choose the iPhone option. So let's name it. And we'll put in a category. Really, we can just pick anything we want here. You may want to restrict your feature set. I wouldn't do that, but you can if you want to. Here you'll notice you have your application key. The application key is specific to the application you're creating. So you'll want to keep this because we're going to use it later. You'll also want to download the Flurry SDK. So let's go ahead and click on download. And we'll just save it. So here in my downloads folder, I have my Flurry zip file. So we'll just double click it to unzip. And we have the Flurry applications folder. So there's a lot of stuff in here, some instructions, but all we're really looking for is this Flurry folder right here. Now, a common mistake that I made when I first started out is if you click on your main application and you click on build phases, and then link binaries with libraries, and you click the plus sign here, you can add other, and you can search for the things you want to add. But I found when I do this, if I add this folder right here, it'll add it as a reference into this system, but it's still referencing it in downloads. So I want to actually import those into my supporting files, or my frameworks. So I'm going to take this Flurry directory right here, and I'm going to drag it over on top of frameworks, and just let it go. And you'll notice this screen comes up. If you don't see this screen, that means that you are not importing it into your project file directory, and you're still referencing it somewhere else. So we'll want to make sure that copy items into destination groups folder is checked. I just leave the rest of them defaults, and make sure that your application is checked, and then click finished. So that'll actually import them directly in, and we can verify that by right-clicking and click Show in Finder. And there they are right there inside of our actual program. Okay, so now we have Flurry in the system. You'll notice it's already been added to our binaries right there. So we're going to go back to our Keo appdelegate.h, and we're going to want to import Flurry. So hashtag import, and then quotation flurry.h. Now we'll go to the appdelegate.m. You'll see they did finish launching with options. So I'm going to go right down here, and just after my pre-built comments right there, we're just going to type Flurry. space start session, and then at quote, and then I'm just going to do Command V to paste, and that's my code that was given to me by Flurry. And that'll start the session with that particular app code. And that's all you need to do to set up Flurry. So Flurry's fairly easy. So let's go to AppLovin. I typically set things up a certain way. So what we're going to do is when the application first launches, we're going to make AppLovin start as a first view app. And then every time we want some other action to happen where the home screen is reloaded, then we're going to do Revmob. So that way we're using two different types of ads in the system. There are a lot of other things you can do. For instance, you can make it if one ad fails to launch an ad, you can have it load a different type of ad. So you want to play around with that, and there's a lot of documentation on that. So the first thing we're going to do is go to AppLovin, and here you'll see where it says Manage Apps, and we're going to click on Setup SDK. We're going to pick iOS and download the SDK just like with Flurry. And then here's all the instructions on how to do it. But the first thing we're going to want to do is copy our SDK key, just like we did with Flurry. And then we're going to go back to our downloads. You'll notice we have AppLovin in here now. So we'll just double click on that. And in this one, we're going to want all of this stuff. You don't necessarily have to have the API docs, but I just copied the whole folder. So I'm just going to rename this to AppLovin, and we're going to drag that over into my frameworks. Same as before, you want to make sure all that stuff is checked. Click Finish, and now AppLovin is in the frameworks. You don't, like I said, you don't need the API docs. We can actually delete that, but we do need the headers, and we do need the AppLovin SDK.a file. Okay, back to my appdelegate.h, and here we're going to need the import alsdk.h file. We'll also need the all interstitial add.h file. Once those are in, we're going to go to the KeoFlex appdelegate.m, and I'm just going to make a little comment here. It says AppLovin, and we're going to initialize it. So we're just going to do the ALSDK and then initialize SDK. So that basically sets up AppLovin to run. Now I'm going to scroll down to the application did become active section. And this is where we'll actually launch the ad. So we'll do the all interstitial add space show over, and do a double square bracket, and then do UI application, share application. We're going to close one square bracket and then say key window, and then close both brackets and semicolon. Now what this says is when the application did finish launching, we're going to load our Flurry, we're going to initialize the SDK for AppLovin, and then when the application is active, we're going to go ahead and launch the app. And you can see the same information right here. We're initializing. First we're importing, then we're initializing. And keep going down. We're also importing the al interstitial add.h, and this is how you run the ad. So I copied all that from the AppLovin documentation. So now just for fun, let's see if this runs. So if I just run my app, Oh, I'm getting an error saying that movie player is not visible. We do have to, with AppLovin, we do have to import the movie media player built in here. So we'll just type in media player framework. And I'm also going to import core telephony. So add support is not there, so let's go ahead and add support. Let's see if that's it. Core telephony we have. Core graphics, media player, system configuration we don't have. Let's go ahead and add that. There it is. Okay, so it looks like we have everything now. UI kit. Okay, good. Click on your program here on the left and click on Info. And here we're going to have to add a custom key. So just right click and click Add Row. And you're going to have to type in AppLovin SDK key. And then over here, just paste the key that we got from AppLovin. So this key right here. Next, go ahead and go to Build Settings. And we're going to scroll down until we see Other Linker Flags. It should be under the linking section. So just find the linking section here. There it is. And we're looking for Other Linker Flags. There they are. So just double click in here and add the plus sign and do minus capital O, BJ, capital C, and press enter. And now let's run our application. And now we have our first ad. So the next thing I'm going to show you how to set up is Revmob. So we're going to go ahead and go over here to my Revmob account. Again, I just created a basic account with them. Pretty standard setup doing that. We're going to go over to SDK. We're going to want the Apple SDK, so I'm going to just download that. And here's our zip file. So just like the other ones, we're going to double click on this one. And here we have the sample app, the README, but all we really care about is the framework. So just as we've done with previous apps, we're going to drag that framework over into our frameworks directory. Make sure copy is checked and all these other items are correct, and click Finish. And that will pull the framework in right there. So depending on where you want to add the Revmob ads, you're going to want to have to import them as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my viewcontroller.h. And let's go ahead and import Revmob. Next, we're going to go to our viewcontroller.m, and directly under the viewDidLoad section, we're going to say Revmob ads, start session with app ID, and then do our @ sign, and we'll put our Revmob key right there. Let's go back over to our dashboard here. We're going to click on Monetization Apps. We're going to add an iOS app. Let's just call it You may not want to check these, or you may want to check these. Just you go ahead and read that and determine how you want to display your ads, and click Add. So there's our media ID right there. Let's copy that. Come back over to our application, and right where we had our @ sign, we'll just paste our media key. Now, two things that I typically add here. I'll add a comment for, actually let's not comment it just yet. We'll just do Revmob ads session dot testing mode, and that's going to equal Revmob testing with ads. There we go. And we'll just go ahead and copy the same exact thing and replace this with Revmob testing without ads. And that way you can test whether the ads work or not. And then finally, we're going to initialize it by saying double bracket Revmob ads, and then session show full screen. Now you may not want to show full screen, but we're going to do that in this example. So here you have an option for banner, pop-up, full screen. We're going to do full screen. Now before I test my application, I'm going to go ahead and uncomment the show with ads. That way we can see if it's working. Okay, now you notice two apps came up. This is our Revmob app where it says free app of the day, and here is our AppLovin app. Well, most people don't like to click on two apps or two ads when application launches, so we're going to just disable one of those at launch. So we're going to go back to our viewcontroller.h, and right above the @interface, we're going to type int first ad equals 1. Go back to our viewcontroller.m, and we're going to say if first ad equals 0, then show Revmob. And then after that's done loading, we're going to say first ad equals 0. And then we'll create a button. Next, I'm going to click on the main storyboard and create a view controller. And we'll create a button here. If you don't know what I'm doing there, I'm just pressing the control key and dragging it over to the other view controller and then selecting modal. We'll go through that again here in just a second, so I'll demonstrate that one more time. So I'll just click on my button, hold control, drag it over to my previous view controller, and select modal. So let's test it now. Okay, there's AppLovin. Hit next, hit back, and there's Revmob. And every time we go to the next and come back, we're going to get a Revmob ad.